A professional footballer's income drops by roughly 85% in the first year after retirement. For nearly half, serious financial difficulty follows within a decade. None of it is accidental. The trap begins the moment the money arrives. A teenager signs their first professional contract, and overnight, their entire world shifts. Vast sums of money flow into a bank account before the player has even rented an apartment or learned how to pay bills. But this sudden wealth arrives with an invisible, unforgiving deadline. A major study of English league players reveals the average professional career lasts just 11.6 years, and for many, it is far shorter. Before these young athletes can establish basic adult financial habits, the window slams shut, forcing them to survive on a brief spike of income. This compressed timeline concentrates enormous sums of money early in life. Data shows that professional football players earn approximately 68% of their total career wealth before the age of 30. This sudden influx, driven by signing bonuses, escalating club salaries, and commercial endorsements, frequently arrives in a singular, massive wave. At the same time, the external social environment shifts entirely. Friends, family, and the public treat the teenager differently, anchoring them in a world of high-end consumption. Because this elite environment becomes the daily reality so early, the brain adapts to it as a baseline. The fleeting peak of a career is mistaken for a permanent standard of living, making the eventual drop in earnings almost impossible to anticipate. This high baseline of consumption is rarely driven by simple recklessness. For many young athletes, sudden wealth places them in the role of the primary economic provider for an entire social circle. A major survey of retired professional footballers revealed that 71% regularly supported parents or siblings financially. These recurring obligations, combined with lifestyle inflation through high-end property purchases, luxury car leases, and the ongoing cost of a personal entourage, lock in immense fixed expenses. Because players often lack formal financial education, they remain highly vulnerable to conflicted advisors who turn manageable cash flow issues into devastating losses. What looks like reckless indulgence from the outside is often the heavy burden of supporting an extended community, eroding the player's wealth long before their playing career actually ends. By the time they retire, the monthly drain has already set a trap that is nearly impossible to escape. When the final whistle blows on a career, the cash flow engine stops almost instantly. In the first year of retirement, a player's average net monthly income drops by roughly 85%. This sudden drop exposes a harsh reality. Retirement does not create a new lifestyle problem. It simply reveals that the active career lifestyle was unsustainable. Within 10 years of leaving the pitch, 45% of retired professionals report serious financial difficulty. Public court records show a repeatable pattern of collapse. It begins with unpaid tax liabilities and failed business ventures, quickly compounding into property foreclosures, costly divorce settlements, and high-interest personal loans. Without the monthly safety net of an elite salary, the fragile structure built during their playing days collapses under its own weight. A hardwired psychological trap drives much of this financial decline. Present bias, the human tendency to favor immediate rewards over future security. Data shows that 73% of professional players admit to spending part of their signing bonus on conspicuous luxury items within 6 months of receiving the money. Rather than ring-fencing these windfalls to secure a multi-year budget, the natural impulse is to purchase sports cars and host lavish parties. When a sudden career-ending injury strikes, this preference for the present leaves the player with rapidly depreciating assets and an immediate cash flow crisis. An athlete's self-worth often merges entirely with their earning power. This identity fusion turns high spending into a tool for status preservation. In a clinical budgeting study, athletes primed with cues about their sporting identity allocated 28% more of their budget to luxury goods than those in a neutral state. When the playing days end, the pressure to maintain this public image remains. To avoid admitting their star has faded, a retired player often continues to fund an unsustainable lifestyle, eventually forcing them to sell assets at a loss or chase high-risk investments to preserve the illusion. This cycle is preventable when structural boundaries disrupt the pattern. In one cohort, only 7% of players who completed a transition program with stage payout support reported serious financial distress compared to 44% of non-participants. Clubs and unions are introducing practical institutional guardrails, compulsory financial orientation, strict fiduciary standards for advisors, and budgeting systems like escrow-style protection. By pacing out payouts and filtering out conflicted advice, these systems do not eliminate risk entirely, but they create a strong safety net that protects future needs from short-term impulse. When the roaring stadiums fade, one universal truth remains. Lasting wealth is never about how much we earn, but the quiet structures we build to keep it.